He went from 0 to 10K in 1 month. How did he do that? Well, Cody Schneider with Swell AI and Drafthorse AI, he shares exactly what he did to make that happen. He says it's fortunate. I disagree. I think he put in the right process that happened to hit the right way. And so he walks us through more than just how he grew that quickly. In fact, they've taken off from there. This is a very, very popular product. He's seeing a ton of success. But moreover, he talks a lot about how you can use AI to create instant content. You can get articles and tweets and TikToks and everything you can think of produced really, really quickly. He gives you a full game plan of exactly how to do that. So check this episode out. Cody Schneider, he walks you through all this fun stuff. You're going to love it.
Welcome to Scale Your SaaS, the podcast that gives you proven techniques and formulas for boosting your revenue and achieving your dream exit. Brought to you by a guy who's done just that multiple times. Here is your host, Matt Wolach.
Hello and welcome to Scale Your SaaS. Really glad that you made it. Thank you for showing up. By the way, if this is your first time here, our goal is to help you generate a whole ton of leads, close those leads, grow your business, and do exactly what the show says, scale your SaaS. If you're wanting to do that, hit the subscribe button right now. That way, you will not miss any of the amazing guests and information we give you so you can do what you got to do. And today, I'm super excited to be joined by my special guest, Cody Schneider. Cody, how you doing?
Good, Matt. Thanks for having me on, man. Super excited to be here.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have you here as well. And I want to make sure everybody knows who you are. So Cody, he's the co-founder at Swell AI as well as Drafthorse AI. Two cool things going on. By the way, Swell AI, they help podcasters and YouTubers convert their podcasts into videos and articles. You can upload your recordings, and Swell AI writes detailed content mimicking your unique voice. I can tell you that is a very cool thing and very needed. And Cody, he's really awesome. He's an entrepreneur who's established multiple successful SaaS ventures, and he really exemplifies productive scaling. And you're going to hear about some of the cool things he's done. One of those, of course, Drafthorse, which that's an AI SEO engine that helps you grow your organic traffic. You can upload a list of target keywords and get articles written in minutes. It's really, really neat what they're doing right there. And so I can't wait to dive into both of these. But Cody, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, again, Matt, thanks for having me. Super excited. So,
likewise. So tell me, what's been going on with you lately and what's coming up?
Yeah, man. We've honestly just been focused really heads down on this content engine powered by AI idea. We're of the opinion that we're on the precipice of this really kind of revolutionary moment, especially for early stage companies where it's like, hey, I have one marketing person. How do I, be everywhere? And so what we've seen is that AI is this vehicle for that. And so the tools that we've been creating is really to kind of augment those teams. My background was in early stage startups. So, I was out in the Valley, did that whole thing. And what we found is that, content is one of the best ways to 0 to 1 a brand when nobody knows you exist. You just raised around. It's how do I make my entire audience, know who I am? And honestly, podcasting was the initial vehicle that we did for it. And then we did webinars and all of that, but we can get into those pieces. But yeah, that's kind of the high level.
Very cool. So tell me, how did this all come to be? How did you get into AI and content and creating all these products that you've come up with?
Yeah. So it initially started what we were doing. I think everybody was experimenting with it in some way, but in July of 2022, it's this moment happened with basically everybody was experimenting with GPT-3, and it got good enough where as a marketer or a salesperson, I was like, oh, this is actually usable. It had this kind of tipping point that occurred. And so at the time I was doing consulting for this company. They were an insurance tech software. It was basically a CRM for insurance agents. And for them, we spun up this podcast as a vehicle to basically, again, 0 to 1 their brand. So we scraped all their target customers, their ICP emails. We then sequenced them into a newsletter. And then every week we would just email them the podcast, right? And they'd have guests on that talk about their business and how they structured it and yada, yada. Because a lot of them are kind of solo insurance agents. Some of them were crushing it, where they were doing $750,000 a year. It's not it's smaller, larger, smaller businesses, larger, small businesses, I guess I would say. Yeah. So for them though, it's basically did this podcast thing. And over a year, we found that we could we made the founders kind of famous, where it's they would go to conferences and now these people know who they are, right? Because they got randomly sequenced into this newsletter. And so podcasting is great to create long form source media that I can chop up and repurpose into all of these different forms. that repurposing process is like the hardest part and it's the most time consuming. And like when I was at a previous company, like I had a team of 10 to 15 people that were constantly working on this, like where we're doing webinars, we're doing, podcasts, and then they would turn that into blog posts and the tweets and the LinkedIn posts, et cetera, for all the channels that we're trying to do distribution through. And so the AI piece was like, oh, this is a perfect vehicle for that. We can take these transcripts, we can take these videos, and we can basically turn them into all this media. And what used to take us, 50 hours of time, we can do it in 3 hours, right? And so that was kind of the inception of it. It's now evolved into like a way larger thing. But the first version of it was actually a Google Drive folder that I shared with some friends. They uploaded MP3 files. We would like download it locally, run it on our machines, and send it back. And that's how we got our first 10 customers. And that there we were like, hey, this idea is validated. Let's ship this. And then, it's kind of evolves into the kind of web application it is now. So
I love that story. And actually that story illustrates something that I teach my clients is, hey, in the early days, you might have to do things that don't scale. Like obviously at scale, that process wouldn't work. But in the early days to figure out, does this work, to verify if it's something that can be valuable for somebody, that's what you do. And so it might have felt tedious at first, but you figured out that this is something that people like and it works, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the times too, it's like I see so many companies that they're trying to do too many things simultaneously. And in reality, they need to do like one or two things. Like most companies can get to $1 million ARR with just like two distribution activities. So whether that's like cold email and pairing that with like Facebook ads to that same audience, like I've seen that work. I've seen it where it's like, okay, I'm just going to only do B2B influencer marketing and then pair that with like cold DMs. Like a lot of the times it's like focusing on those transactional things and pairing two of those things together that I see make a lot of impact for these early stage companies rather than focusing on a long-term investment. Like so many people are like, do SEO and all this shit. It's like, no, like you need to get to $1 million ARR so you become sustainable. Until you're at that point, like you don't think about long-term investments into like distribution or marketing or any of that. Like, it's like, what are these transactional activities like selling, like, cold calling, et cetera, that I can do where that makes an immediate impact on my revenue tomorrow rather than, something that's going to take effect 6 to 12 months from now. So.
Yeah, I love that. I love that the focus is purely on, we just got to get to $1 million ARR. And that's something that's really important. It's something that I've constantly kind of told my clients, this is a checkpoint. The companies who get there, they have so much more likelihood of actually being successful and making it, because once you've reached that, you've shown that you know what you're doing, you've reached product market fit, you understand how to get in front of people, how to close them. And I think it's super critical. And one of the first checkpoints, in fact, the first checkpoint is for me, 10K MRR. That shows that you've had some initial early success. And you were able to do that to get to 10K MRR in 1 month with Drafthorse. That's super impressive. Can you share some of the simple strategies and tactics and what you did leveraging personal branding and some of the content stuff to create that trust and virality? How did you guys get to 10K MRR so quick?
Yeah, that's a great question. So honestly, it was total just viral moment. If I tried to recreate it, it was like right time, right place with kind of the right resources. But the kind of the compounding things that happened all at the moment. So we built an internal tool to basically do programmatic SEO for Swell. And then I was talking about it in public on Twitter. And I had been growing this Twitter account just because I realized that it was like a great vehicle to do cold outreach with. Like the more followers you have on these social channels, the more receptive people are to getting pitched your thing. So
it's amazing.
Anyways, yeah, I was growing that. And honestly, and we wrote some software that basically like helps with the tweet writing process. So I was publishing like 10 tweets a day. And it was honestly, I don't know if you can cuss on this, but just it was shit posting, right? And so anyway, so we, I was talking about in public, people were asking about the tool. So we spun it out into a separate product. We basically just like cloned the code base that we had for Swell and put Drafthorse up in it. And then I did a tutorial that was like, I'm going to write 1,000 articles that are SEO optimized off of these target keywords that are related to my brand in the next 60 seconds. I like click the button and then it writes those articles, and then click one more button and it published them to the WordPress site, right? And they were now live and in public. And so anyways, that went viral, and then we just rode that wave. I mean, the servers were on fire for the next 30 days. It was just like pure madness. Like we're definitely understaffed, and we're a small team, like we're early stage and self-funded. And so for us, we're just like, trying to juggle 1,000 things, just like all founders are. Yeah. So, and then really just doubled down on those types of things. Like everybody is looking for these solutions right now that speed up the processes of like content production, right? So it's like, I have these inputs, I'm desiring these outputs. Like, what are these ways that I can use AI to kind of abstract away all of that time consuming piece, that layer? And that's really what we've been showing, like just publicly in demos. And so it's that combination of, and I think people, this was a learning, across all the platforms. Like every platform has content that they're most receptive to, but it's figuring out how do I like find that cross section between like what's most likely to get reach, while simultaneously like how do I also create inbound for my company, right? But yeah, we got it to 10K MRR in the first 30 days, and then just been growing it since then, and building out kind of these other flywheel pieces. So we found YouTube to be a great vehicle for that company, and so we're doubling down on that. And we've been running a lot of off YouTube paid traffic to the YouTube channel. And what that does is we've been buying like Twitter traffic for like super cheap, right? I actually don't even want to say this in public because it's so insane, but like, I'm talking like 0.0001 cent link clicks. Sends them to the YouTube channel. They want like that turns into views, that turns into subscribers. But what it does is it creates virality that happen on the YouTube channel itself. So this like basically it's just a tutorial of your software that's going viral, like showing people how to use it, which again creates inbound. And so that's something that we found to be like a kind of an incredible kind of arbitrage. And so we're capitalizing on it at the moment. But yeah, happy to dive deeper on any of that as well. I know that was like a ton of random information. So
no, I think that's amazing information. And you did mention that you were fortunate that this buzz happened, but I would disagree. I actually think you did a lot of work to create that brand, to build that channel on Twitter, to create that kind of public trust, to kind of build your community. And so that when you did have something, you had a community, you had a group of people who already trusted you, believed in you, and were willing to jump in and be a part 100%. Of this thing, especially since you told the story so well. I think people saw that, realized it was an issue, realized it was something that they had a challenge with and they could get benefit from. So I think that you did everything right. Yes, sometimes you just need that magic for it to hit right, but I think you did so much well there that I don't think it was super fortunate. I think you followed the right process.
No, I think it's part of it. And like for every founder that's listening to this is such an opportunity right now. Is just like building like founder-led growth is this massive lever that anybody can pull. I'm seeing this happen more and more where it's like they hire a ghostwriter. That ghostwriter interviews them like once a week. It's 30 minutes. They sit down, 30 minutes to an hour. They take that recording and then the ghostwriter basically like builds out, okay, here's this tone, style, and voice guide that we can give the AI. Now we go and write all this content for this founder. And then this founder looks like they're everywhere and just like proliferating all of this, like their ideas and content and really almost the like, ride along entrepreneur journey. That's becoming this like very powerful mechanism to grow these companies. But that's actually, we have a client that uses Swell, and that's what they do is they basically like interview these founders. It's honestly an insane company. I'm still shocked that like there's not more of this. It's like a solo founder. They're charging $5K a month. I think he has like 30-ish clients now at this point.
Wow.
So it's like 150 MRR, right? It's a service business, obviously. But what he did, it's literally that. It's like have these conversations, like crank out all of this content at scale. I think he has like a couple VAs that help him. And that's literally it. But that's this way that you can 0 to 1 these products overnight, right? And that's the dream. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm gonna repeat. I'm gonna start as many companies I can over and over again. Like that's my favorite part is like the beginning stages, figuring out all the puzzles. Like once we define the operations, at that point, like let it exist and it can kind of run itself. But what how you do this over and over is you have that owned media channel, right? You have that owned distribution. And the best that I've seen so far that are the two that can't be taken away from you are podcasts and newsletters. Mm-hmm. You always own those vehicles. And then the kind of next, piece of those is then, okay, I grow these social channels, whether that's like LinkedIn profiles, like personal LinkedIn profiles or Twitter accounts, et cetera. So.
Yeah, it's great stuff. You mentioned you're running a few different companies. You love that early stage. How do you balance your time? How do you balance your focus between them? Because I also have multiple companies and I find it tough. I'm really focused on this thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to do that. And how do you keep it all straight?
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part. Right now, it feels like we're just like fires. I need to hire like 2 more people for Swell in particular. But I think the biggest thing that I focus on is like, what's the most impactful thing that I can do in this moment to like move revenue, move that number. And whatever that is, like that is what I do. Right. And then the other kind of filter that I employ is like, again, my focus is on the puzzles. Like, but once I figure those out, like how do I automate as much of that as possible or delegate as much of that as possible? And then whatever can't be automated or delegated, like that is what I'm there to manage. But it's the kind of the age old challenge, whether you're funded or not funded. Like, it's like where, what do I have limited resources. I have time, money, and mental energy. Like I have to think about that combination of things every day. And I think for every founder, it's figuring out. And that mental energy one is one that's we don't think about a lot. And I think it's actually the most important. Like that context switching between all of this is the hardest part. So, but we try to make, like, for us, what we do is like make it as self-serve as possible. So the lower tier can basically jump into the product and start using it. That also creates a great opportunity for you to do like affiliate marketing and build out an affiliate audience and network. The other piece is then like for, all the enterprise sales, like that's where it's like, my head is focused on, because it's like, if you're talking to a larger organization, like they're going to need at least 4 to 6 months for some of these deals, if not more. Especially when it's like, they're bringing the lawyers in, you got an MSA, et cetera. It's just a longer time piece thing, right? So it's like automate as much of that lower end tier as possible and try to make it so that it can be as self-serve as it can. I think it's like a big learning thing that it's over the last 12 months has been kind of critical for us. So.
I love that. I love the way you put that. I hope everybody grabbed that, because you said you like to figure out the puzzles and then figure out how to either automate or delegate it and then solve the rest. And I think that's so critical. That's a great way to scale, a great way to continue to keep yourself focused on kind of those higher tasks, those more tasks that you need that thinking and your energy and your experience to be able to solve, and let either automation or delegation take care of the rest. And I think that's super smart. I love that. I want to understand though, if for a layman like me that doesn't know AI very well, why use something like Swell or Drafthorse as opposed to going to ChatGPT or Bard? What's the difference?
Yeah. So with Swell in particular, like we're focused on content repurposing. So you could do the exact same thing in ChatGPT. Like say I wanted to make a podcast show note. The biggest difference that we've kind of created is the ability to create, we call them prompt chains or templates. So like just how you have a chat within ChatGPT, like we can save that as like, here's the sequence of events, the prompts and responses that can be chained together. That's saved as a template so that every time that you provide us some raw source material, i.e. the podcast, it just automatically generates that output. So if you're a marketer and you're like, okay, I'm interviewing 2 people a week or whatever for this podcast to grow my agency, et cetera, I can build out these templates that just automatically like write a first person blog post in this tone, style, and voice, and make sure that it's like hits these key points. We want a call to action to be included in, the first paragraph. Oh, also write me 30 tweets, also write me 5 LinkedIn posts, also, whatever those content outputs that you're looking for. Our big thing is focusing on building kind of this like pipeline from all of that. So it's the analogy I always use is like, we want to take those raw materials that, like, think about it as like oil, and I want to turn it into plastics and gasoline and diesel, like whatever we can basically produce. Those templates are all of those different versions of what that raw material can be turned into. So that's really on the Swell side. For Drafthorse, the biggest thing that we do is like, you just provide us a target keyword phrase. And again, like minutes later, you'll have hundreds of articles written. So like, as an example, worked with a client that they were in, they had a part of their software was like an SMS sending service. So it was like, SMS marketing for hotels, SMS marketing for B2B SaaS, SMS marketing for e-commerce, et cetera. So we found all these long tail keywords that are like, bottom of funnel keywords that if somebody's searching that, they're probably searching for their software as a solution. And, they gave it a list, our Drafthorse that listed like 500 keywords that are all of those long tail. And 5 minutes later, they're published on their website. And like we set up auto indexing for them. So it's actually being submitted to Google through the Google indexing API, so that it's just like growing their blog kind of on autopilot, right? I mean, and that's how we're seeing this used, is like 0 to wanting the like a ton of content simultaneously. And I always get the question, especially on the SEO side, is like how Google views AI content. They basically stated in February of 2022 or 2023, like, we don't care how it's made, like, as long as it provides value. And I think that framework is like where this is all going, right? Is how are you, like, does this actually provide value to the whoever is consuming this? And that's going to be the filter across all of these platforms, right? Whether it's Google, whether it's YouTube Shorts, whether it's TikToks, et cetera.
I love it. That's great stuff. And it's super important because so many times I look at somebody's blog, they're like, yeah, we've got a content play. And their last article was written like 2 months ago. And 100%. I get it. It's hard to keep up with it, or it's expensive to hire a team to keep up with it. But if you can have AI take care of that for you, and especially take all of those key things you're focusing on and go out and come up with the content for it, that's fantastic. I love that.
You also can just go after competitors in a way that you never could previously. Like, I just saw a case study from this company. And they basically took the sitemaps of all their competitors. Like, so a sitemap is just like all of the articles that are written on a website. They can basically scraped all of those articles to find all of the titles from every one of those. Like, imagine thousands of blog posts that have been written over the last, 10 years. Say it's an incumbent, right? And they then save each of those as like a TXT file. They then take it to an AI, and they're like, okay, AI, like, write blog posts about this competitor's entire sitemap. Like, every one of those articles, we're going to make our own version of that and then publish it. And like, the data that they had was insane. It was like in 12 months, they got to 1 million impressions per month on Google. It was driving like, it was something nuts, like 30% of their inbound lead or inbound signups. And like, it was all written for around like $2,000. And that's kind of the moment. Like, that's the arbitrage right now. Is in the past, if I wanted to write 1,000 articles, like I wanted them to be like of a quality that was good enough that I would actually publish them as brands, that would cost me $100 an article, right? So it's like I'm spending $100,000 to go and write all of this content. In contrast, now I can do that same thing and I can get it out the door for like $500. So that's the moment that we're in. It's going to, it's a small gap that this is going to exist. I'm guessing like 2 to 3 years. So like, that's on the Drafthorse side. In contrast, like we're calling that commodity content. That's like knowledge that the AI, like the LLM, naturally has built into it. You can just write about these topics. In contrast to that, like, the thought leadership content is actually going to become more and more valuable. And this is how you can differentiate as brands. So imagine I go and I interview like 3 industry experts, say like you as an example, Matt. I'm talking about like early stage sales. And I interview these 3, we'll say 5 experts about how do you do early stage sales. I take those transcripts and then I say, okay, AI, build me a detailed blog post outline focusing on this target keyword, how to do early stage, B2B sales, B2B SaaS sales. It builds that outline. And then I can basically limit it to that transcript information from these experts, and then have it actually write that content based off of that kind of corpus of information that I'm providing to it, like saying, hey, this is this walled garden that you can only write from. And that's how we're going to see these brands. Like, it's your domain knowledge. We have a cybersecurity company that's doing this. Their domain knowledge in this space is so deep that they're going to write the best content and always win, because they have the most knowledge trapped within their library that they can then repurpose over and over again for all of these different channels that they're trying to do. And so that's how we're thinking about it more and more, is like, how do we make it so that you can have this library of content that you can go back and data mine and then pull out these clips, et cetera, whenever your team needs them, or you see, hey, in our data clips like that include the keyword XYZ, they do really well. Or when we're talking about cold email, they do really well. Find me all the clips that are related to cold email. Write me 40 tweets about related to cold email or whatever that is. Right. I can just go back to that library that I have and then reuse that over and over again. And that's how I create this evergreen content engine that is going to, again, differentiate my brand as commodity content that's made by AI becomes everywhere. And that just becomes like the expertise will never be in there like you'll see from a human being. So
I love it. And I can see how passionate you are about this, Cody. It's so cool watching you talk about it and hearing what you have to say, because you can just feel how excited you get about it. We're running out of time here, but I want to make sure that we really share some great stuff with our audience. So what advice would you have for early stage startup founders who are wanting to start to leverage AI and start to have it help their business?
Yeah, I think right now there's a massive opportunity to just disrupt these industries that look undisruptible. Like the other day, like I was looking at like surveys, right? And I'm like, surveys could just be automated at this point. Like I survey people and then I abstract all of those insights. So like think about it as like you're a product. Say you're trying to do product research, right? Based off of your churned users. Like we're doing this actually internally, and there was this moment where I was like, fuck, I want to just go build this company, right? Because it's just like, it'd be super valuable to what we're doing. But I take all of those survey responses, I throw it into a context window, and I'm like, okay, like list the most, list the insights from this, this whole library that I just provided you, but weight them based on the things that are most referenced. And like, we just did this, and it's like, okay, here's these 10 things that are stack ranked that are the most impactful for you to reduce churn. So like the survey business has been here since day one, but now this base technology change has happened that has it's going to shake up. Like the analogy I'm using is like, it's like a snow globe, right? Like we're shaking it up. Like it's hard to move the snow if it's not shaking. Whenever I have a base technology change, that snow globe gets shaken, and I get to like position it to make that snow fall wherever I want. And like, that is what's happening right now. It's like, I get to put weight on the scale. And so with the, like surveys is a huge one. Another one that I could see somebody going and building a massive company in is social media scheduling, like social media scheduling and management. Like AI again has totally disrupted that space. All of these and great examples, like later.com was built in like 2010, right? Like the stack they're using is so arbitrary. Like it's not even like Hootsuite, all of them are at the same time, right? As soon as there was APIs available for Instagram and Facebook, et cetera, that's when they came out. So there are these massive companies that are like slowly trying to shift. And if you just come in and from the ground up build with AI as a component, rather than like layering on this bloatware on top of it, which is what they're doing, you can entirely disrupt that market and take over a huge market share, because that's what these people are looking for. Like I want AI to tell me why customers are leaving, right? That's a great use case. Like I want it. And it's something that we're already doing, I guess. That's the big thing, is like focusing on the things that we're already doing, that there's massive markets for. And again, how can I automate a percentage of that? Because then it's an easy sell. Like for us, like how I sell Swell as an example to like podcast networks and agencies is like, we cut costs by 60% on average. Like you have a team of 40 people that you're paying salaries, like that overnight, like 60% of that cost is cut, right? It's like, it's a no-brainer. And it's the same thing that you can do in these other spaces. So
super cool. Amazing advice, and definitely something that people should take you up on and go out and start doing that. I want to make sure that people understand where they can learn more about you and Swell and Drafthorse. Where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, I'm most active on Twitter and LinkedIn. That's where you can find me if you want to reach out and chat. But again, yeah, it's swellai.com and drafthorseai.com. If you Google both of them, they should come up. And if they don't, I'm not doing my job well. So those are all the places you can find me.
Okay, perfect. We'll put all that in the show notes as well. So if you're listening, you can grab all that right there. But Cody, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing all of these great tips with us.
I appreciate it, Matt. Thanks for having me again. Super excited.
Absolutely. And everybody out there, thank you very much for watching and listening. Really glad to have you here. Again, make sure you are subscribed. You do not want to miss on any other amazing advice like Cody just shared with us. So hit that subscribe button. You'll be good to go. And then we will see you next time. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Scale Your SaaS. For more help on finding great leads and closing more deals, go to mattwolach.com.